Good evening. You can call me H. Welcome back to my channel. For today's story, I am having a 2022 Chardonnay by Terrace Sancta Estate, New Zealand. From what I can see, my girlfriend must really like this bottle because she generously have left me this much for this video, so let's give it a taste. Yeah, I get why. Anyway, for today's video, I'm reading you a dark fairy tale by the brothers Grimm. And I've just gotten my hands on this book and I'm loving it so far. Yeah, let's get into it. There was once a poor man who was unable to feed his only son any longer. So the son said, "My dear father, everything goes badly with you, and I am a burden to you. I would rather go away and see how I can earn my own bread." So the father gave him his blessing and took leave of him with great grief. At that time, the king of a powerful empire was at war, and the youth taking service under him went with him to the field. When he came in sight of the enemy, battle was given and he was in great peril, and the arrows flew so fast that his comrades fell around him on all sides. And when the captain was killed, the rest would have taken to flight, but the youth, stepping forward, spoke to them courageously, exclaiming, "We will not let our fatherland be ruined." Then the others followed him, and then pressed on and beat the enemy. As soon as the king heard that he had to thank him alone for the victory, he raised him above all the others, gave him great treasures, and made him first in his kingdom. Now, the king had a daughter who was very beautiful, but she was also very whimsical. She had made a vow never to take a lord and husband who would not promise, if she should die first, to let himself be buried alive with her. "Does he love me with all his heart?" said she. "What use to him then can his life be afterwards?" At the same time, she was prepared to do the same thing, and if a husband should die first, to descend with him to the grave. This vow had hitherto frightened away all suitors, but the youth was so taken with her beauty that he waited for nothing, but immediately asked her in marriage of her father. "Do you know," said the king, "what you must promise?" "I must go with her into grave," he replied, "if I survive her. But my love is so great that I mind not the danger." Then the king consented, and the wedding was celebrated with great splendor. For a long time they lived happily and contented with one another, until it happened that the young queen fell grievously sick, so that no physician could cure her. When she died, the young prince remembered his forced promise, and shuddered at the thought of laying himself alive in the grave. But there was no escape, for the king had set watchers at all the doors, and it was not possible to avoid his fate. When the day came that the body should be laid in the royal vault, he was led away with it, and the door closed and locked it behind him. Near the coffin stood a table, having upon it 4 lights, 4 loaves of bread, and 4 bottles of wine. As soon as this supply came to an end, he must die of hunger. Full of bitterness and sorrow, he sat down, eating each day but a little morsel of bread, and taking 1 draught of wine. Every day he saw death approaching nearer and nearer. Whilst he thus sat, gazing before him, he saw a snake creeping out the corner of the vault, which approached the dead body. Thinking that it came to feed on the body, he drew his sword and exclaiming, "So long as I live, you shall not touch her." He cut it in 3 pieces. After a while, another snake crawled out of the corner. But when it saw the other lying dead, it went back, and returned soon with 3 green leaves in its mouth. Then it took the 3 pieces of snake, and laying them together so as to join, it put 1 leaf upon each wound. As soon as the divided parts were joined, the snake moved and was alive again, and both snakes hastened away together, the leaves remaining lying on the ground, and the unfortunate king, who had seen all, bethought himself whether the miraculous power of the leaves, which had restored a snake to life, might not help a man. So he picked up the leaves, laid 1 on the mouth of the corpse, and the other 2 on her eyes, and he had scarcely done so when the blood circulated again in the veins, and mounting into the pale countenance, flushed with color. Then she drew her breath, opened her eyes, and said, "Ah, where am I?" "You are with me, dear wife," he replied, and told her how everything had happened, and how he had brought her to life. Then he helped her to some wine and some bread, and when her strength had returned, she raised herself up, and they went to the door and knocked and shouted so loudly that the watchers heard them and told the king. The king came down himself and opened the door, and there found both of them alive and well, and he rejoiced with them that their trouble had passed away. But the young king took away the 3 snake leaves and gave them to his servant, saying, "Preserve them carefully for me, and carry them with you at all times. Who knows in what necessity they may not help us?" A change, however, had come over the wife after she was restored to life, and it was as if all love for her husband had passed out of her heart. And when, some little time after, he wished to make a voyage over the sea to his old father, and they had gone on board the ship, she forgot the great love and fidelity which he had shown, and through which he had saved her life, and disclosed a wicked plan to the captain. When the young prince lay asleep, she called up the captain, and taking the sleeper by the head, while he carried the feet, they threw the prince into the sea. And as soon as this evil deed was done, she said to the captain, "Now let us return home, and say he died on the voyage. I will so praise and commend you to my father, that he shall give you to me in marriage, and you shall sit as his heir." But the faithful servant, who had seen all unremarked, let loose a little boat from the ship, and getting in it himself, rowed after his master, and let the betrayers sail away. He fished the dead body up again, and by the help of 3 snake leaves, which he carried with him, he brought him happily to life again. Then they both rowed away with all their strength, day and night, and their little boat glided on so fast that they arrived before the others at the old king's palace. He marveled to see them return alone, and asked what had happened. When he heard of the wickedness of his daughter, he said, "I can scarcely believe that she has done such evil. But the truth will soon come to light." Then he bade them both to go into a secret chamber and keep themselves private from everybody. Soon afterwards the great vessel came sailing up, and the godless wife appeared before her father with a sorrowful countenance. "Why are you returned alone?" he asked. "Where is your husband?" "Alas, dear father," she replied, I returned home with great grief, for my husband was suddenly taken ill during the voyage and died. And if the good captain had not assisted me, it would have gone terribly with me. He was present at my husband's death, so he can tell you all about it. The king said, "I will bring the dead to life." And opening the chamber, he bade the prince and his servant both to come forth. As soon as the wife perceived her husband, she was struck as if by lightning, and falling on her knees, she begged his pardon. But the king answered, "For you, there is no pardon. He was ready to die with you, and gave you life again, but you have conspired against him in his sleep, and shall receive your due reward." Then she was put, with her companion in crime, on board a ship which was pierced with holes, and drawn out into the sea, and they soon sank beneath the waves. The end. Wow, that ending was unexpected. Anyway, that's the end of Three Snake Leaves. Hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know if you have a favorite dark fairy tale. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. That's all for tonight. Good night for now.